Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Just in case this is your first time here, you are absolutely welcome. My name is Ayomide, and on this channel, I post DIY sewing tutorials and pattern drafting tutorial. So as you can see, this tutorial is about how I made this amazing, beautiful shirt dress with cutout sleeve without a pattern. Yes, I didn't use a pattern for this shirt dress. If you want to learn how to do this without a pattern easily, then come on this journey with me as I share how I made this beautiful shirt dress. And the fabric I use is silk. So just in case you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to my channel, support the channel, join the community, turn on your notifications so you can become notified whenever I upload a new video. Now let us jump straight into the tutorial. These are the materials I'm going to be working with. I have my fabric. This is silk. It is 2 yards. I have 2 yards here. My fabric scissors, tailor's chalk, my pins, measuring tape, my pattern master, and also my long ruler that is about 20 inches long. So the very next thing I'll do now is to place my fabric on fold. So guys, I've gone ahead to place my fabric on fold, and I marked 2.5 inch away from the folded edge. This 2.5 inch is going to serve as the button overlap because this is a shirt dress and we need the overlap for both the buttonhole and the button stand. That is if you are fixing a button, but if you are fixing a snap button, you also need a stand for the both of the snaps. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be placing my vertical measurement. The shoulder to bust is 9.5, shoulder to waist is 17, shoulder to hip is 25, then my length is 42 and I added 1 inch for allowance, that is 43. I'm not sure my camera can capture the entire length, but I'm just saying that. So this is the hip line. Here is the waistline and the bust line. All of my measurements is going to be starting from this line. This is the front I'm working on. So my measurements, I will take them from this line and not from the center front fold, not from the fold here. So this will be my center front. From here, I will mark my half of the shoulder I'm working with. The shoulder is 15, divided by 2 is 7.5, plus half inch allowance, 8. Then I'm going to be using 2.5 inch for my shoulder width, 1 inch for the slants here, just like you're drafting your normal basic bodice. The chest line I'm working with is 7.5. From this shoulder slant, I'm going to be marking my 7.5 inch. And then I'll also mark it from here in order to have a straight line. Then on this line, I will also mark the 8 inches I have here so that I can have a perfect straight line. On my chest line, I'm going to be marking the quarter of the bust. The quarter of the bust I'm working with is 9 inches. 1 inch for ease because this is a shirt dress, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. That makes it a total of 11 inches. On the waistline, a quarter of the waist I'm working with is 6.5. 1 inch for darts. I'm going to be fixing the darts on this shirt dress. 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So that makes it a total of 9.5. On the hip measurements, rather on the hip line, the hip I'm working with is 40, divided by 4 is 10. 1 inch for ease also, 11, 1 inch for sewing allowance, 12 inches. I'm going to be connecting all the points together. So I'm connecting the bust to the waist, and the waist to the hip. What I would do next is I would measure all that I have on my hip. I have 12 inches. I will deduct 1 inch from that measurement. That is 11. I'll come down to my full length and mark 11 inches. Then I'm going to be drawing a straight line to connect it. I'm still going to be covering the edges of this shirt dress later on. So I have my full length all drawn out. Now let us move over to the neckline. For my neckline, I am using 2.5 inch for the neck width. Then I'm going to be using 3 inches for the neck depth for the front and half an inch for the back. The next thing I'll do is to draw in my armhole. So I'm taking the midpoint of this chest line. I would go in by 0.75 inch for the front and then connect it. I'm also going to be drawing the back armhole too. You could mark half an inch away from the midpoint of your chest line and then connect. The deeper armhole will be for the front while this will be for the back, and this neckline is going to be for the back. So I can go ahead and cut this out, and then we're going to be using this to cut out the back. I'm done cutting out the front. In order to use this to cut out the back, I'm going to be folding this overlap inward so that I can use this to cut out my back pattern. I'm done folding it inward along the button overlap, and then I've placed it onto my fabric again so that I can use it to cut out my back. This is because there won't be any button overlap at the back. That is why you have to fold it over. Now because this is a shirt, the shoulder of the along the shoulder slant, I want my front to be longer. Rather, I want the back to be longer. So I want it to be longer by 1 inch plus half an inch to join into the front. That is going to be 1.5 inch. So I have 1.5 inch here. And then I'm also going to be marking 1.5 inch. Now when you wear your shirt, you will realize that the back, along the shoulder slants, the back is usually longer than the front. So I'm going to be connecting this. I will also do the changes to on the front later on when I'm cutting. So this is what I'm going to do. Then also along the hem, I'm going to be creating a curve along the hem. Along the hem, I want it to be curved. So I'm going to be getting the midpoint of the entire measurement I have here. It should be around 5.5 since I measured 11 before. And then I'm going to be marking about 3 inches upward or 3.5 inch. Let me see what 3 inches gives me. And I'm going to be creating a curve this way. Okay, so if I'm satisfied with what I have, I can cut it out. I can make it lower or higher. Okay, I think I'm okay with this shape. So this is what I'm going to be cutting out. I'm done cutting. I'll just create a tiny notch along the waist so that when I want to sew in my darts, I can easily locate my waistline. So what I'll do next is I'm going to be detaching the front from the back, and then I can now readjust my shoulder for the front. In order to finish off the front, remember for the back we added 1 inch extra to the shoulder. Now I'm going to be deducting that 1 inch extra from my front. So since I'm taking 1 inch from my front to the back, I will need to deduct it away from the front so that my armhole area doesn't become too big. Now I'm going to be taking out 1 inch away from the front, and I need half an inch to sew it back. So taking half an inch away from 1 inch, that will be half inch. What that means is that for my shoulder slants, I'm going to be cutting off half an inch. But before I do that, I would also trace out my neckline. Then I'm going to be measuring half an inch away from the shoulder slant. Initially, I should take out 1 inch, or I need half an inch to join it to the back. So I'm taking out half an inch. If you're adding 1.5 inch to your back, you'll be taking out 1 inch. So it's just simple calculations. These are my fabric pieces. I have my back pattern right here. This is the back. I also have my front here. So I've gone ahead to iron in interfacing along the button stand. So along that extra 2.5 inch allowance, you will need to iron interfacing along that side. So one will stand for your button stand, and the other one will be for the buttonhole. However, whichever one you want to use, whether the left or the right. So this is my front, okay? Then I also have my sleeve. It is a basic sleeve here. I didn't do a tutorial on this because I have a tutorial on my channel on how to draft a basic sleeve. So this is a simple sleeve. It's not a short sleeve, and it's not too long. This is what I'm going to be using for this. I haven't cut out the collar yet because I want to join the front and the back pieces together before cutting out the collar. What I'll do next is that I'm going to be top stitching this all the way down. I would use a matching thread, either black or green, and then I'm going to be sewing it down by 1/4 inch from this edge here all the way down, and also repeat the same thing all the way down. I'll also pick my darts. So once I'm done picking my darts, I'll pick my darts for both the front and the back, and once I'm done, I will now join it together along the shoulder. So if you want to join it together along the shoulder, you're going to be placing right sides against each other. So place corresponding right sides against each other. I'll sew it along the shoulder and then sew it by my seam allowance all the way down. So that is what I'll go ahead and do. So guys, this is the dress, or rather, yeah, the shirt dress. I have joined it along the shoulder slants on both sides, and I equally sew in the 1 inch overlap. You can see what I was talking about. I sew it in on one edge and also on the other edge. I did this for both sides, so it's going to overlap this way. Can you see? The overlap is going to be this way. Let me show you the sides. This is the side. This is the side. So I left an opening here. I didn't start sewing it from the armhole. I left an opening just to make the fixing of the sleeve easier. You know, there are more than one way to do things. And also along the hem, I marked about 5 inch upwards. That would serve as my slits along the hem. So I'm going to be piping this inward, and I would use a bias tape to finish off the raw edges of this gown. So when I iron this will stay in place. So what I'll go ahead and do next is to fix my sleeve. It is just a basic sleeve. I'll go ahead and fix the sleeve, after which I would fix the collar. For the collar, I have a detailed tutorial on my channel on how to draft and sew a collar. So I won't be sharing it in this video because that video that I have on my channel is very detailed. So there's no need repeating and making this video just unnecessarily long. I find that people don't like too long videos, so I won't be sharing how I made a collar since I already have a video on my channel on how to make a shirt collar. If you don't know, I would advise you to check it out. It is very, very detailed. I would also put a link in the description box whereby you can just click on it and you will be redirected to that particular video. So I'll go ahead and fix my sleeve and probably come back and show you guys, yeah, but I will just go and fix my sleeve. I'm done attaching my collar. You can see this is my collar. you will need to interface your collar for structure. Can you see the way it is standing? So you can choose any type of interfacing you want based on the kind of structure that you want. For this particular one, I use a mild interfacing, not the very strong one. I've also fixed the sleeve. It's a very simple sleeve. That's why I didn't even do a tutorial. Or that's why I didn't even show you guys while fixing it, because it is very simple and very easy to fix. What is left now is to fix the buttonhole and attach the buttons. And I would also be doing a cutout here along the shoulder all together with the sleeve. So now let's go ahead and do the cutout. For the cutout, you need to fold your fabric together into half, making sure that the both arms are aligned along the shoulder. I'm gonna add to pin them down. I also opened up the collar. So now, this is the shoulder slant, this is the armhole, and this is my sleeve length. Along my shoulder slant, I can just mark about 2.5 inches away, depending on the kind of opening, how wide you want your opening to be. Along the armhole, I will also measure 3 to 3.5 inches away. I'll first of all measure 3. If it's not wide enough, I can open it up. I'll connect it. Then along my sleeve length, I would also measure 3 inches away. So this is what I'm going to be cutting out. I'm done cutting it out, and I'm going to be using a bias tape to finish off the rough edge. Now, a very important tip: if you know you don't want the opening to be too wide, I will advise you that along the sleeve just mark 1.5 inch, and then along your armhole area mark 2 inches before you cut. Then if it is not as wide as you want it to be, you can now trim, because I had to cut out another sleeve again for the first one. Okay, I had to recut my sleeve because it was too wide the way I cut it out the first time. So this is just a very simple tip for you, but if you don't mind the opening, then that's fine. So what I'll do next is I'm going to be finishing this rough edge with a bias tape. I would puncture my buttonhole and then fix my buttons, and I'm done with this shirt. I'm through with the shirt. This is it. I fixed the buttons. You would need to use a matching button for this, and I use a hand needle to untack each of the buttons. This is also the cutout area. You remember I said you would use a bias tape to finish off the raw edges. You can also use a a fabric bias if you don't want to use the commercially produced bias tape. If you found this tutorial helpful, kindly give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you have been watching my content over time and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, support the channel, join the community. And until my next video, guys, make sure you remain blessed. Goodbye.